Story 1. Cruelty. If people could disagree, struggle, or even fail without being unkind to one another, the world would be much softer and more humane. Story 2. Discussing topics they are not well informed about but behave as if they are leading experts who must defend their knowledge at all costs. Story 3. Passive aggression. Just say what you mean. It would save many friendships, relationships, and jobs. Story 4. I do not know what to call it, but that urge people have to ruin things or hurt others just for the sake of it. It seems they want to be known for cutting down the world's oldest tree or something similar, because they enjoy making the world worse for no reason at all. Story 5. Cruelty. The mere fact that it is essentially an addiction to commit cruel acts makes me think there is, or never was, an all-loving and forgiving God. Story 6. Sexual desire. This issue represents a significant harm to individuals and society as a whole. Consider the prevalence of sexual crimes and the deep roots of sexual abuse within our communities. Many types of crime can be traced back to sexual offenses, which dominate various cultures around the world. In developed nations, these issues often manifest in the entertainment industry, where they can be concealed behind a facade of glamour. Humanity has become synonymous with sexual and child abuse, and the reality is troubling. There are numerous loopholes that allow individuals to access illicit videos and images of children online, and many who commit these crimes receive minimal punishment within our societies. When religion or cultural beliefs intersect with these crimes, it can result in disturbing practices. Historical examples include punitive measures inflicted by rulers that objectified the human body in horrific ways. Sexual crime and desire can be viewed as the root of significant human moral failings. While attempts to normalize sexual expression continue, I believe it is better to restrict it than to risk allowing anyone, regardless of gender, to harbor desires that could harm children or others. One of my former coworkers encountered a sex offender living near her home, someone who had harmed her relative. While it's commendable that she took action, it underscores the pervasive issue at hand. Sexual desire can lead to exploitation, as greed drives individuals to dehumanize others. Those in power often use their resources to evade consequences, and I am convinced that a substantial number of individuals would act on harmful impulses if they believed they could do so without repercussions. Trust is a rare commodity. Even the most seemingly trustworthy individuals may harbor dark intentions. Story 7. Narcissism. It is what gives people group effects and is the source of all discrimination. The typical human reflex of thinking the others are worse, we are better, or our way of life is best causes so much pain and suffering. It is far worse than lone greed. Do not let anyone tell you that other humans are less good or just less anything than you, simply because they are seen as different. Such thoughts are used to justify social injustice, discrimination, violence, wars, and genocides. We are all human, connected on this planet, and we can all live in peace and help each other. We can, and we shall try to. Story 8. Fear of anything or anyone perceived as other. Imagine a genuinely tolerant world without bigotry. We would just be one step away from living in a utopia. Story 9. It would be rude, especially towards those who serve us, like waiters. Everyone deserves respect, regardless of their job or status. Story 10. The empty attempts to defend one's own perfection are perplexing. It may be due to cultural factors, but many people fiercely resist admitting a flaw or mistake. Given the choice between cutting off a hand or acknowledging a mistake, they might even momentarily contemplate the former. This mindset is irrational and counterproductive. By admitting mistakes, one can learn and ultimately improve in their pursuits. Story 11. Sponge-like susceptibility to generational family religion, the drive to hate and humiliate everything that is different from them, ghosting, and more. Story 12. People who cut through parking lots instead of treating the stall markings as lanes belong in the same category as those who put ketchup on their hot dogs, and those who think that it didn't scan so it must be free is an acceptable comment to make to a retail employee. To clarify, if it's an empty or deserted parking lot, that's one thing. However, if it's the middle of the day and you're cutting across the lot, that's unacceptable behavior. Story 13. Manipulating others through guilt is subtle, exhausting, and has long-term effects on people. I would gladly eliminate that behavior. Story 14, harassment. The need to bring down others just to feel more powerful is sickening. It is constant. I cannot deal with bullies anymore, whether they are kids or adults. They never face consequences. They continue their terrible behavior and only receive a minor reprimand occasionally. Story 15. It's somewhat broad and obscure, but it reflects a lack of a sense of responsibility. What I mean is the complete absence of a moral compass. For example, there are people who treat their children poorly, show no interest in maintaining a job, or being contributing members of society, and are content with being perceived as bad individuals. Story 16. Playing music or videos on phone speakers in public is distracting. I was on the bus this morning, and a woman was watching videos at full volume as if she were in her living room. Please use headphones. Thank you. Story 17. Bullies exist in various forms, especially those who intentionally engage in subliminal behaviors to make someone uncomfortable or for insecure power plays. Even small instances, such as when individuals exchange mean glances while making fun of someone speaking or being sarcastic and demeaning towards them, contribute to making that person feel inferior. It is unsettling. Story 18. Narcissism is characterized by individuals who view others merely as tools for their own benefit. They may lie, resort to violence, and engage in emotional manipulation, such as playing the victim or gaslighting, to achieve their goals. Their aim is often to undermine those closest to them to maintain control and manipulate them. These individuals lack redeeming qualities and show little regard for the harm they cause to others. Story 19. No one is allowed to disagree on anything ever again. Only agreement is permitted now. If you do disagree, you must agree to reverse your disagreement for the sake of becoming stuck in an endless cycle of agreeing on something you both disagree with. And before you consider disagreeing, you can't. Disagreement no longer exists. Story 20. Psychopathy and sociopathy are basically similar within a spectrum. Eliminating those issues can lead to significant improvements. Story 21. Ignorance. Make everyone painfully aware of the impact of their actions. Effectively remove all other behaviors mentioned in this post. Story 22. The practice of hurrying people up makes others feel like their time is worthless. Being stern, direct, and forthright can be good. However, disproportionately offloading on others by crunching their time feels like unnecessary attrition tactics, while basic civility achieves better results for everyone. Story 23. I would disable player versus player. Imagine someone trying to stab a random person, and all the knife does is slightly poke him without even breaking the skin. Story 24. Cringe or greed. I understand greed. However, if I could overcome my cringe, as someone with autism, I would feel so much better about myself. Story 25. Falling for or choosing to believe misinformation because it supports or is convenient for one's views and beliefs. Story 26. Trolling on Reddit. There is no need for someone to berate another user over a comment made 8 months ago and call them names or attack them simply because they have a different opinion. Story 27. The more I think about it, the more I realize how each of these negative behaviors has its necessary place. Story 28. The answer will always be greed. Every single evil trait or action in this world will ultimately come down to greed. Story 29. Violence, especially physical violence, must be eradicated to eliminate any form of physical abuse, war, and murder. Addressing emotional and mental violence would also significantly reduce emotional trauma, which can lead to suicide later on. This approach would save countless innocent lives and make the world a safer and more enjoyable place to live. Story 30. Religion enables otherwise decent people to commit horrible acts they believe are justified for supernatural reasons. Story 31. Dehumanization. I believe the root of much greed and hatred lies in the ability to distance others from their humanity. We are all the same, but removing this idea from our minds enables hateful, racist, and greedy behavior. Story 32. Performative empathy refers to the act of pretending to care for appearances, without taking meaningful action. Instead, Let's prioritize genuine kindness or refrain from any action at all. Story 33. Narcissism and greed, fueled by egotism and immaturity, contribute to cruelty in the world. Society would be improved, and there would be less suffering without those who lack empathy and engage in deception and insincerity. Story 34. Stringing along kind people. I'm not referring to leading someone on in a dating sense. I'm talking about taking advantage of someone's kindness in various settings. Work, home, relationships, school, and family. Just don't exploit nice people. Story 35. Trolling behavior is the act of enjoying watching other people get frustrated. It is unhealthy and has become much worse over the last few years. It represents a new, refined form of bullying. Story 36. I know it has already been said, but I would like to add that if selfishness did not exist, I can only imagine how much better and kinder everyone would be. Story 37. Narcissism hurts both the individual afflicted with the disorder and those around them. The person may never experience what real love is like because they are incapable of showing genuine love themselves. Narcissists rarely seek help as they often do not recognize themselves as the problem or believe anything is wrong. The individuals around them suffer due to emotional and sometimes physical abuse, gaslighting, and manipulation. Those victimized by a narcissist may take years to feel fully safe in relationships again. Story 38. Forming beliefs mainly based on the opinions of their social circle, and seldom from actual evidence. Story 39. Married individuals who express love for their spouse but act as if nothing is wrong may go behind their back and lie to their family, friends, and coworkers. They seek attention and play the victim instead of communicating and working on issues with their spouse. They often confide in others rather than discuss matters directly with their spouse. Essentially, I would eliminate infidelity. Story 40. Behavior is different from emotion. I have observed conditions like depression. I would choose sociopathy as it encompasses narcissism, impulsivity, manipulation, and disregard for social norms or laws altogether in one behavior. Story 41. I would describe it as entitlement, but it honestly brings me joy when I get to challenge it. Perhaps it's blind greed, not just the typical human tendency to desire more, but the greed demonstrated by billionaires who fail to understand that a 5% price increase affects us far more than it benefits them. Story 42. Fanatic religious beliefs. I have come to realize that the majority of the problems in society stem from those who adhere strongly to religious beliefs, while the other half is consumed by financial greed. Story 43. Envy. I believe many people would lead happier and more content lives if they could free themselves from envy. It's easy to get caught up in the mindset of keeping up with others or to desire what we see celebrities wearing or showcasing. However, if we could pause and truly appreciate our own lives, our unique journeys and blessings, we might find far greater satisfaction. As a society, we would be collectively healthier and happier if we focused less on comparison and more on gratitude. Story 44. Violence encompasses physical, sexual, mental, emotional, political, and social media violence in all forms. Story 45. Ignorance. I believe that a proper understanding of various issues would have a ripple effect and resolve many other problems. Story 46. Greed is our major failing, and if we could eliminate it, many of our problems would be solved. Story 47. Greed. I am so tired of the wealthiest individuals wanting more and more. They will betray everyone just to earn a few extra dollars, and it disgusts me. This is especially distressing in a world where there is enough for everyone. One billionaire could feed and house millions of children. Story 48. Selfishness is a quality that, when eliminated, can lead to the decline of other negative traits such as greed, inconsideration, and a lack of empathy. Story 49. Greed. If people could be happy with what they have and not fixated on having it all, the world would be a much better place. I am referring to political leaders who feel the need to take over other countries, not individuals who aspire to own a home and earn a livable wage. Story 50. Greed is the foundation of many problems. Religion is built on it. Wars are often started because of it. Income disparity is fueled by it. Story 51. Selfishness. Every current and historical global issue was caused by or resulted from selfishness and greed. Story 52. Xenophobia, in the broadest sense, is the idea that people who are different from you are scary and bad. This mindset has caused immense destruction and misery throughout history. What has it ultimately achieved? Story 53. Cognitive dissonance. We need to be able to admit when we are wrong and update our beliefs when new evidence presents itself. Story 54. Sexism. I was going to mention racism, but sexist attitudes disregard skin color and can affect anyone, including males. Story 55. Greed is a significant issue. Having enough money to live comfortably and with peace of mind is something everyone desires. The pursuit of wealth to indulge in destructive behaviors often leads to more harm than any other actions, in my opinion. Story 56. Self-deception leads me to believe that all negative aspects of life stem from the denial of our inherent equality. This realization helped me to understand that every living being has a right to life. Despite our advantages, we should structure our society to celebrate our own existence and that of others. We must also observe and create conditions for other forms of life to thrive, to the best of our ability. I believe we have largely missed the mark, although my perspective is relatively common. Story 57. I'm sorry to hear that you're feeling this way. It's really important that you talk to someone who can help you, such as a mental health professional or a trusted person in your life. Story 58. Horniness. We only engage in sexual activities out of brutal necessity, with no other reason than I think it would be somewhat amusing. Story 59. From a more philosophical point of view, removing the 7 deadly sins from the world seems great on paper. World peace, no corruption, no selfishness, etc. But I fear it would come with unforeseen consequences. If you end arrogance and narcissism, people no longer feel the drive to stand out or lead. No one takes credit for anything, and nothing gets done beyond pure function. Societies become gray, apathetic collectives. If you end greed, there is no more drive for progress, entrepreneurship, or even problem-solving beyond survival needs. Why invent or build anything more than the bare minimum if no one wants more than they have? If you end wrath, people become incapable of righteous anger or emotional defense. Injustice goes unchecked. People stop standing up against cruelty or oppression because they lack the fire to feel wronged. Passionate resistance dies. Tyranny thrives. If I had all the power, I wouldn't remove any type of human behavior from the world. The world would become perfectly moral but soulless. The flaws that made us human, that birthed art, revolution, passion, flavor, and even love, are scrubbed clean. You're left with a world that's safe, efficient, and dead inside. So the monkey's paw grants your wish. But at what cost? Humanity loses its fire. And in trying to purify the world, you killed the very thing that made it worth saving. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.